So in this lecture, we will look at how we can read multiple lines. In this example, in the text.txt file, we have two lines starting with a player name, followed by some score. We want to read and display those. Now for this example, we only have two lines, but of course this file could include many lines, and we want to know how we can read multiple lines. So back in the main file, we create an IOFStream object as before. We open that and connect it to the text file, and then we check if it is open. Now, firstly, we don't need the else part, since if the file is not open in that check, then the program will exit. Let's remove the else part. Following the check, we have a string for the player name and an int for the score as in the previous example. So to read multiple lines within a file, of course we can use a loop. We want to loop through each line, gathering the data in each line. For this, we can use the while loop. For the check, you may see an EOF member function being used. This function will return true if the stream's EOF but error state flag is set, which basically means that the end of the file has been reached by the last operation. A special end of file marker exists that will indicate the end of the file. Your system will place this marker or character at the end of each file for you automatically, and the end of file character needs to be read before the EOF member function will return true. Here we will extract the player name and the player score from the input file, while the end of file is not reached. Build and run, and those print out as we expect. You may get different behaviors with the EOF member function depending on the platform, since different platforms handle line terminators and the end of the file character differently. So instead of using the EOF member function, I recommend that you use the input expression for the check, like so. This may seem weird, but basically if the input succeeds, then execute the loop body. Build and run, and that works fine. For an exercise, add a player number to the beginning of each line in the file, then read and print out the player number, name, and finally the score. So this is what we have in the file, the player number, name, and score for the two players. Of course, you can have more players in here. Back in the main file, we do the IOFStream object declaration and the file connection using open, followed by a check to isOpen as before. Then I have a variable to store the player number. Then we do while and we extract those data items from the infile stream object. Then I print out the player number followed by the player name and the score. You can do this output, the formatting for this output however you like. Following this, we need to close that file again, build and run, and this is the output that we get. Now what if we have multiple lines of different lengths? That is when we don't know when we will reach the end of the line. For an exercise, attempt to read these lines from the file and display these lines in the console. As a hint, you can use the getLine function that we have discussed before. A quick reminder on the getLine function, we can do cin.getLine. For C strings, we can pass in the C string name and the number of characters to write. And then with standard strings, we can do standard getLine, and then we can pass in the stream. So in this case, standard cin for that input stream, and then we can provide the standard string that we want to write those characters to. So again, these are the lines that we have, and we want to read those from the file and then display those in the console. Back in the main file, as before, we construct the IOFStream object, open the file, and then check if that file has opened successfully. Then we can use a standard string variable, which I named line, to store the lines that we will extract one line at a time. In the while condition, we use the getLine function and pass in what we want to extract from the first argument. In this case, we want to extract from the infile object and not from the standard cinStream object. For the second argument, we specify where we want to put the extracted data, in this example our line string. Then we print out the line, so we put out the data in line out to the console. Build and run, and notice those lines are read and printed as we may expect. Again, remember to close the file when you are done with it. A quick recap on the get member function. IFStream inherits get from ISStream. So from the input stream class basically, the input file stream class inherits get from the input stream class. We have two signatures that we are concerned with for right now. We want to use this first one. If we use the first version, that is going to extract and return a single character. We have seen some demonstrations on that before. We are mainly concerned with the second version here, which is going to assign the extracted character to the argument character variable. Okay, and we have a quick example on the usage of that at the bottom of the slide. We have some character next, and we can pass that variable in to the get function. Now, of course, we are not going to invoke that on the cin stream. We are going to invoke that on our input file stream. In the next example, we use the get function to get or extract one character at a time. Previously, we used get with the cin stream, but in this example, we are going to use that with the infile stream. Both, of course, are input streams. So the get function will read new line characters, spaces, and so forth. So that is the benefit of using the get member function. For this example, we have some character variable to store the character that is extracted by the get member function. Next, in the while loop, we use that get function on the infile stream object and pass in the character variable. The character that is extracted will be assigned to the argument character variable with each iteration. Then we simply insert that character into the console output stream. Remember, we have this text in the text.txt file. We have two lines here. At the end of the first line, we have a new line character, which the get member function will extract, and that will actually then print to the console. Build and run. And the text prints out with the new line character. I did not have to use the end line to fix the formatting. Next, let's create a C string. I will name that C string line, and maybe it can store 40 characters. I will use getLine in the while condition and pass in line for the C string argument and 40 for the characters to read. We will insert that line into the console output stream, and we want to add an end line here, since if we do not, I will remove that to demonstrate. Build and run. Notice that we do not get the new line in the output, since that is extracted and discarded by the getLine. To fix that, I will add the standard end line. Build and run again. And now we get the output that we want. And so that was a look at how we can extract characters from a file and save those in character variables or C strings.